You are listening. Happy, healthy, successful Kleesman. Hello everyone, my name is Keia and today I'm the host of our podcast. Our guest today is Birk. Welcome.
Hello.
As a start, could you introduce yourself to our listeners? Who are you and what is your story?
So my name is Birk, and this is actually a name that I took for myself, and I appreciate it very much because this is something that I have also built on my own. So with names, I have this backstory that I always feel that other people are trying to claim a part of your success. So it is good to have something that belongs only to you and isn't the property of your family or whoever you're with at the present moment. So my story is that I come from a really small town called Viljandi, and I was born in the Soviet Union times. So we were quite poor and didn't have much of a lookout on life, or so to say. So it was a small town. It was a small town mindset, which meant that you always try to keep a nice face for the other people, and you worry about what your neighbors think, and at the same time inside your household all hell can break loose, but this is not something that others should know, and you're also not trying to fix your problems, because I think that with small towns the thing is that it kind of affects your space of thought, that you think that I will be born here, I will die here, everything in my life will happen here, and I need to get somebody to live with me from the people who are around. And this is why it kind of gets very lacks oxygen, in your life. And when I was born, actually my parents had already pretty much started to hate each other, like years before that. And my father didn't want to have any more children, and when I was there, then he thought that my mother has cheated on him and I'm not his. And I really felt it for the first years that, he didn't like me, he didn't want me around, he didn't like my mother, and everything kind of started spiraling downwards. And since there was so much negative energy in our household, my parents also got sick. So my mom got cancer when I was 5 years old, and dad got cancer when I was 10. And that didn't add much, much of inspiration to the daily life, but just struggles. But I have always had this kind of nature that when I see a problem, rather than to be like beaten down by it, I try to find a solution, no matter how hard the situation is. And even when I was really small, of course, I suffered really because of these domestic problems and all the yelling and beating and running around and desperation. And I really hate drama up to this day, which is maybe funny because I'm a writer and drama is my bread. But I don't want it in my life. And
Maybe it's a healing process that you are doing
it is absolutely a healing process, because also I think when I was very young, I figured it out that when you write something down, becomes smaller. When you have a very bad thought, like I hate my life or I hate myself, and the minute you kind of write it down, it's just this one sentence, and you're amazed, like it's so tiny, like how can it fill my life? This horrible sentence, when it's just like so short and isn't almost there. Yes, so yeah, I think we will get to discuss my life during all the other questions, but I think the most important part is to remember that I consider myself a survivor, and I also consider myself a creative person.
Do you consider yourself as a successful person
and
also?
Very successful, because I really started out with nothing, nowhere, and nobody.
But right now, what you are dealing with?
Right now, I actually, my first international TV series is launching in September. This is the first time in Estonia anybody has ever achieved that we got Swedish money. We didn't use the state budget. And I'm also currently working as head of a department in TalTech University. And I'm leading the communications, the marketing, and also the web development department. So pretty much doing a lot of interesting stuff right now.
But if you were younger, how did you saw your future?
Oh, I think for many years when I was young, I almost thought that I will die. I also had this, I had the problem with, I wouldn't actually say that I was depressed, because whenever I read about depression, it says that people who are depressed lack activity, and I've never lacked activity, but I felt really bad because the situation didn't show any improvement. Everybody was miserable every day from morning to evening, and I kind of like, there were many moments when I thought that I'm not able to deal with this. I can't cope, like this is enough. I can't take any more tears, any more screaming, anybody calling me names, like this is too much. But so I didn't have this like huge future. Of course I had dreams. I actually wanted to be a designer at one point, which is kind of also interesting, that I have done very little like actual work with designing, but this is one thing that is still really like calming and really like a very nice thing to do, really, to design something. And of course I thought that this is like, I don't have the courage, I can't apply, like who am I? And this is like our art universities in the capital city, like I can't manage this noise and streets and people, and that I had really low self-esteem. So I like buried it. And then I thought that I will like study something that is solid, has a lot of knowledge in it. And I started out as a gene technologist. So actually my first degree is in genetics, but it wasn't meant for me. So I'm too creative to be stuck in a lab doing research. That's really like the opposite of creation. It is the discovery. So I really like to create new things much more.
But now you consider yourself as a successful person, and your childhood was not very, very good. What were the steps that you had to do to become successful? What we can learn from your story?
So I think the first thing is that listen to yourself, which sounds really boring, but it's so important, because all of us, most of all the young people, they're so much oriented towards what the other people say. And if you are poor and you're not very pretty and you come from not a nice household, of course the risk is great that people will say, oh, you're the ugly girl, and like you're the funny one, but we don't take you seriously, and pretty girls go with the pretty boys, and you stay behind and do your own thing, and this can get to your brains like so much, but you have to kind of see your own path from the very beginning. And I realized, I think that my path is through the brains, basically, because that was my strength. I was always smart, and maybe not even so smart, but willing to work towards a goal. And this is also something I think that people really need to maybe think every day, like write it down, what is my goal, and think about it, like every morning when you wake up. Because if you don't have a goal, you will never get there. Like it will not happen. And a lot of people who maybe have had more luck in life, they think that, oh, it's going to happen, like the Prince Magic is going to come through the door, and maybe I'm going to win the lottery, and things are just going up, but they will not. I mean, you need a plan, and my plan was to... But
maybe you also need smaller steps.
And
because if your goal is to be extremely rich and famous and so on, then maybe it's not the best goal.
Yes, and I also think that my life has taught me that I'm always moving forward with those small steps. So I think as a child, it was the goal was to graduate with as good grades that you can. Then it was the university, just do it, get through it, then it's done. And then with first jobs, I really started with like a secretary, because also I didn't know anybody, I didn't have still like much self-esteem. But when you're a secretary, then set another goal. Like, I'm not going to get stuck here in 6 months. I'm going to be an assistant. When I'm an assistant, then I'm going to get a project manager. When I'm a project manager, and then I'm going to be a team lead. And it's also possible. Like, if you always kind of move yourself a little bit up, like level up, then it becomes a ladder. And eventually, you're going to see more like where the ladder really goes.
But did you have some support from your family or friends, or what's the support group?
Yes.
Or did you have it?
Well, I didn't have it at home because, as said, the mindset was vice versa. And all the people maybe who are listening who still remember the Soviet times, like my parents said that never stand out, never speak, like just stay in the background, be as gray as you can, and don't be different. This is what we were brought up with. Like you were supposed to be this silent background person with no special characteristics, and I think maybe I was born this way. Like I have to push it really down to be gray and silent. But I got really much of that. Like don't do it. Like don't go. You are nobody. You are not supposed to be anything. And it was very hard to like constantly keep your own goal. And also my friends from where I was from, our street. It was funny that I was born on the side or the edge of the city, and it kind of happened that all of us, maybe 10 kids or so, were just running around the houses, and I remember being on my own since the age of 4. Like, parents didn't care anymore. Like you did whatever you wanted, you got your food, who cared? Like who wore whatever dresses you had the reason to wear with like 4 years of age, and all of us were the same. And later, like I have thought about it, like all the families were sort of, they were all broken. Like some were with like single moms who just didn't like have the time to care or didn't care or were so broken themselves. Then there was like one family where there were 7 children, and actually the oldest one, like she grew up, or she was the parent for all the others. So she moved in our apartment, not our apartment, but apartment house, when she was 6. And there was already a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and she was like commanding all of them. And I think it's crazy. Like these days, I think people take so much better care of their children, and it seems crazy. But maybe this, survival instinct also came through this madness that you were only like so old, and you needed to take care of yourself and manage relationships with all those people. And, some of the neighbors like yelled at us and screamed at us and threatened us like we were going to pour like boiling water over you. And this was like normal considered. So it was a weird time.
Okay, but if you were a child, then there were about 10 child, and you had the same background.
Yes.
Do you know what happened with them? Are they all successful?
No.
or not?
No. There are like several stories, but also like a lot of them. I think I want to think that they're happy, but of course they have kind of landed in the same social background where their parents were, because a lot of them dropped out of school very early, then had maybe children at 18, also maybe some drugs and alcohol problems, whatever, because they were not taught how to build up their lives, and they didn't have this. Maybe this whatever like smartness that I was born with, that I realized that I don't want to live like this. Like I think I was 6 years old when I was fed up with this shit. I knew that I want to get out of here. I need to have another life, different life, live a better life. And even if they said like, you're an idiot, why are you studying all the time? Like it's so boring. I still like knew that I needed this. I needed this to get out of there.
So you need to decide what that you want in life.
Yes.
What are the steps you have to take?
Yes.
And then you can be successful. Yes. That's your story.
I'm always amazed when people say like, I don't have any motivation and I don't know what I want. I've never lacked motivation and I pretty much always know what I want. So if those two things are like the questions that people have, I think they really need to meditate like hard on it, because also you can sometimes like reverse engineer it, like start writing down what you don't want. And maybe then you can also like analyze what you don't want and get to where you want to be. And you will not get there like by an accident or randomness. It's much more probable that you will get somewhere where you don't really want to be.
Yes, that's a very good thought. But now we will make a break, and next time we will continue with the second part of our interview. You were listening Happy, Healthy, Successful Kleesman. You can find more information on our website kleesman.com.